It all seems to be going wrong for Gareth Bale at Real Madrid at the moment. At the Champions League game against Juventus, he didn't play a single minute. He was on the bench. It's gone wrong, and apparently there are reports that the relationship between Zinedine Zidane and Gareth Bale has turned sour. Statman Dave joins me now to talk through a whole host of Real Madrid and Manchester United links that are in the papers at the moment. Let's start with Gareth Bale. Dave, could you see this one happening, and what has gone wrong ultimately at Real Madrid for Gareth Bale at Real Madrid?
It's quite an interesting one. I don't think it's in terms of the relationship together. I think we hear a lot of things about Real Madrid in the press, Isco, Bale, falling out with Zinedine Zidane. But quite frankly, for Gareth Bale, it's the tactics. And it's the former guy I mentioned, Isco, that's actually taken his place within the side. The interesting side of European football over the last 2 years, you'd say, is the 4-4-2 sort of the default shape. And what counters that is a 4-4-2 diamond. And unfortunately for Gareth Bale, Isco is more suited for playing at the tip. You take the recent game in the Champions League against Juventus. Isco completed 54 out of his 54 passes against the Italian giants. Wow. Playing in an area that's so dangerous. You take the first goal, Isco drifting from a central area out wide, assisting Ronaldo, goal time, Real Madrid get a 1-0 lead. But the problem with that is that Isco suits Real Madrid more than Bale does, and unfortunately, if Bale wants to play within this system, as a striker, he's not going to get Cristiano Ronaldo starting berth, so he's competing with Karim Benzema. I'd also argue that Karim Benzema is better suited in this system. You know, his hold-up play is very, very good. He's good at vacating the space for Cristiano Ronaldo, and also he's defensively quite good. He's a different player to Gareth Bale, but right now for me, it's Isco and Benzema over Gareth Bale.
So it's more a style thing than any kind of loss of ability for Gareth Bale, because obviously there's been a lot of talks about the problems that he's had with injuries, but ultimately he's only 28 years old. He's still got 4 years plus at the top level if he wants to. So a move to Man United would, for Man United fans and the Man United team, would be one that would be really, really exciting. How would he fit in that Man United team if it was to happen?
Well, it's a really interesting one. Where United have got a little bit of hole in their side is on that right-hand side, a right winger. Juan Mata's played there and he's done really well, drifting to that left-hand side. But if you watch Man United, they are so left-heavy in a way. The likes of Jess Lingard will operate in that zone. Martial, Rashford, Alexis Sanchez, they all want to play in that area. So having someone like Gareth Bale that has been so devastating on the right wing for Real Madrid, you take the first title that they won in the Champions League under Zinedine Zidane. He was awesome on that right-hand side. And I think that's what he could give United. It's that pace, that ability, but also he could play on the left if need be, to be the sort of classic winger in a way. But what United need, what Mourinho wants, he likes those inside forwards that are going to come off the wing onto their stronger foot inside and look to, create something out of nothing. And that's what Gareth Bale would bring United. The thing you mentioned before, the injury record, is the worrying thing. Gareth Bale has failed to play over 2,000 minutes in the last 2 seasons. You look at the top players in the Premier League, the likes of Eden Hazard, your likes of, your Wayne Rooney's in his prime. They're all rocking over 3,000 minutes. Right. So Gareth Bale is in a really bad patch. 1,800 minutes, 1,900 minutes in an entire season isn't that much football. It's been calf injuries, it's been ankle injuries, it's been muscular problems. The thing with Bale, maybe you should take a book at a sort of part out of Ryan Giggs, his Welsh teammate. Giggs had the same problem, but then started to do yoga, and the injuries started to drop off. So that could be something that Gareth Bale could do at Manchester United. A bit of yoga with Ryan Giggs.
Lovely. There you go. Yeah, it's yeah, true. I mean, he might be doing that already for the Wales team. You don't know. So the website Transfer Market is suggesting that Gareth Bale is worth about 63 million quid. Now, for me, that seems a bit short for someone who's gone for 80 plus already and is only 28. So I think he's probably worth a little bit more than that. But how are Real Madrid and Man United going to get this deal over the line? Daily Mail has been suggesting that Real Madrid are looking at Paul Pogba, because of the difficult relationship that he seems to be having with Jose Mourinho, and Anthony Martial, who's not been playing as many minutes as he was at the start of the season, despite having quite a good, strong season. For me, I cannot see the Pogba deal happening. It's too big of a marketing moment in Manchester United's history. He's an integral player as well on the pitch. I just can't see that happening. But Anthony Martial, I think this is quite exciting. This is a guy who a lot of people think can really go to high levels as a footballer. But Jose Mourinho doesn't totally fancy him. So, would you take a swap deal between Martial and Gareth Bale? Is that something that you or Manchester United fans, do you think, would fancy?
I think first up, I think Real Madrid have been sniffing around. You mentioned Paul Pogba, you mentioned David De Gea, which we'll chat about a little bit later on, and Anthony Martial. For Manchester United as a club, they're all massive assets that are still quite young in the progression of their careers. So for me, I wouldn't get rid of any of those guys. I'd be keeping them. But you mentioned the Bale swap for Martial. That could be quite interesting because I mentioned before, United lack someone on that right-hand side, a player that can actually play in that area. United are quite stacked on the left wing. You think Alexis Sanchez, who was signed in January. You've got the likes of Lingard that can play there. Marcus Rashford, who had a worldie against Liverpool. So that's the kind of thing, if you're kind of thinking about that, we're stacked in this position. If we're going to solve another one of our big holes in our squad, actually, could this move come off? I think as well, if it was going to be Gareth Bale for Martial, it'd have to be Martial would have to be for Gareth Bale plus cash in a way. I think Martial has a really high ceiling. The stuff he's done for United this season has been brilliant. So it's going to be, that's a really interesting question, and maybe it'd be good for United just because they'd solve another problem.
Yeah, we're going to talk about David De Gea in just a second, but let me know in the comments below, would you take a swap deal, but Martial for Bale, or how would you get that deal done? Let's talk about David De Gea. This is one that has rumbled on for years and years. I mean, before we get into this mad swap deal that's been offered, supposedly, according to the Manchester Evening News, why has this rumbled on for so long when he's been Player of the Year time and time again for Manchester United, and there hasn't really been any true substance to this story over the years? Why does it keep coming back?
I think it's simple. He's Spanish number one. Real Madrid always want to have the best Spanish players. You think Real Madrid, the only weakness in their team is potentially at goalkeeper. I think Keylor Navas is a fantastic shot stopper. He commands his area well, but what he isn't very good at is when the ball's at his feet. You think of the top-level goalkeepers, I like De Gea, Manuel Neuer, are excellent at sort of distributing from the back, as well Ederson, who's made a brilliant impact in the Premier League since joining City. Keylor Navas never has had that, and I don't think he will have that ability to command from the back. Take the recent Champions League game against Juventus. There were a few times Juventus pressed Real Madrid high and forced Keylor Navas into a poor clearance. So that's the kind of thing that David De Gea is an upgrade on Keylor Navas. And he's Spanish number one. And he's played for Atletico before. He's lived in Madrid before. Of course, his girlfriend is Spanish and lives in Madrid. But at the same time, David De Gea has made some comments recently in the media how he loves the passion of the Manchester United fans. There's some great respect there. David De Gea was one of a few number of players that actually came over to the away end in the Champions League game against Sevilla and clapped the fans and got involved there. So I think David De Gea now has a bond at Manchester United because he's grown as a goalkeeper. He came to Manchester United with a lot of holes in his game, and now he's the most complete goalkeeper in world football. So it's always going to be there, I think, this rumour. It's always going to be knocking around just because he's Spanish.
And the deal that's being kind of spoken about is one that would fill a lot of the holes and the problems that Manchester United have. I think in the centre of midfield, it's not totally worked yet for Man United. You're not totally dominant there. Pogba's not reached the heights that you kind of want him to yet on a consistent basis. And you know that Carrick's retiring at the end of the season. Fellaini is ultimately not the answer for Manchester United and will probably be going in the summer as well. So you need replacements there. And the Daily Mail is suggesting that Toni Kroos, so 28-year-old Toni Kroos, one of the best players in the world, in my opinion, Toni Kroos, and Modric could be the swap deal, and I guess there'd be some cash involved as well, for David De Gea. It shows how desperate maybe Real Madrid would want him. That is a deal that you would take in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned David De Gea is probably the best keeper in the world, but Luka Modric and Toni Kroos have been the two best central midfielders in world football. So you're swapping one world-class player with two. So it's kind of a simple thing here that you'd probably take that. Toni Kroos is the most complete midfielder in world football for me. He can do it all. He can shoot, he can tackle, he can control a game of football, he can get assists from corners. He just has everything that you'd want in a central midfielder. And you look how he commands the tempo and he controls the tempo. It's all one touch, two touch, three touch passes. He's never slowing the tempo down. And for Manchester United, that could be really crucial at the moment because sometimes it gets stuck at the centre half, deep in midfield. But with Toni Kroos, you consistently see him switching the play, playing the quick passes, keeping that tempo going. We talk about tempo and how Paul Scholes used to keep the tempo for United, but it was all about short passing and then looking for the switch. And that's what Toni Kroos does. Then you look at Luka Modric. What a wonderful player he is as well. Rated the best midfielder in the Champions League last season by UEFA. What he did in the Premier League for Tottenham was incredible. So I'd take that at a heartbeat, David De Gea for those two wonderful players. But at the same time, David De Gea for United this season has been brilliant. The fourth most saves in the Premier League and the best save percentage in terms of goalkeepers making saves from shots at 80%. So it would be a difficult one, but because you're offering, well, if Real Madrid are offering these two superstars, you kind of got to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think massive pinch of salt with that one. If I've got Toni Kroos, I'm not going to let him go. A 28-year-old Toni Kroos. I think Luka Modric slightly different. He's 32. There might be other players out there that you can kind of move forward and start to evolve this Real Madrid team, which has been so successful. And I do think Modric has got a few years left in him. The final question I want to ask you, Dave, is Willian linked with you, Bale 28, Modric 32, Sanchez come through 29, Matic 30 plus, I think. All of these players, they don't really fit the way that Man United have generally done their transfer dealings over the last few decades. They've gone for that 22-year-old, 23-year-old guy who's got 8 years left in him. How do you feel as a Man United fan going for all of these guys who are in their prime right now, but you might not get years and years of them?
I think you've got to take the United squad as a whole in a way where you've got the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jess Lingard, who's still at 25, has got a lot of football left in him, Anthony Martial, Paul Pogba, Eric Bailly, Victor Lindelof, very young players. So when you're looking at building that blend between experience and youth, that's what you want. You want a good blend between it. But also if you're looking for what Man United want, that's the Champions League. Teams generally win the Champions League when they're coming to their prime, when their average age is about 28, 29. You think of that great AC Milan team, back in the day with the midfield of Seedorf, Pirlo, Gattuso and Kaká. It was quite an old team, and they did well in Europe because they had that game management. We're seeing that with Real Madrid right now. So for United to sign a few old players, we're not even old. 28 is not old for a central midfielder. You're thinking they could go to like 34, 35. For me, it's all about blending that experience with youth, and Mourinho is the right guy to make those decisions and call the transfers. Of course, Sanchez coming in to add some experience to the United attack after Zlatan went. So I think it's fine. I think United have got that good youth base. Obviously, the youth teams are doing very well at the moment, top of the Premier League North under-18s. They're going to win that title. So it's one of these things where it's blending that with a bit of experience, perfect.
Well, it's an exciting time for Real Madrid and Manchester United. Both have got big summers ahead of them if they want to close the gap with their rivals. If you want to check out Statman Dave's channel, do so. Great content there every single time. We'll put a link in the description. Dave, thank you very much for joining me today. Let me know your thoughts on all of these transfer dealings between Man United and Real Madrid in the comments below. Hit that like button. Most importantly, subscribe to Ball Street. I'll see you soon.